So welcome to the Knowledge Worker Innovation Series. This is our first event of 2015. We're pretty excited to get in our third year. And so we're really delighted to be in this awesome neighborhood with a lot of cool things happening around us. Today we're fortunate to have Keith Hopper, and he's going to speak to us about navigating uncertainty as we launch new products and services.
And so this idea of having a particular novel product sort of packed with uncertainties. In fact, the more novel the product, the more uncertainties there might be across more dimensions, essentially the riskier the project is going to be. So the first is know your purpose. It might seem silly at the beginning of a project to ask, why are we even doing this? What's going on with this project? But it turns out that, that if you were to ask individual members of the team, maybe even executives, I bet you would get slightly different answers. So the real secret here to addressing this uncertainty space as it comes to knowing your purpose is it really permits different solution approaches without losing your way. So instead, they can go around the problem, they can go over the obstacle, they don't necessarily need to develop a new road. Secret number 2, know your risks. So knowing your risks, the first step is to try to identify the big risks that are easily avoided. Technology and feasibility can become important, but they're not really meaningful until you've got something customers actually want. Simply getting your product in front of customers, or even if it's an early version or a prototype or even just an idea, will end up uncovering a lot of assumptions. So there's a lot of benefit to testing, but there's also a lot of benefit to putting your product out there and seeing what you have to learn. So secret number 3, know your mindset. At their core, most of these uncertain projects are essentially a search for something that works, right? So it's a search for a business model, it's a search for a target customer, it's a search for a set of features. And that search, that exploration component, is actually a little bit unfamiliar. Most new product teams, or most product teams, are staffed with builders, right? People who are thinking about constructing applications, that's usually their job. But depending on where you are, you may actually need to be thinking more about this search and less about the exploration. So you need to pause every once in a while and recognize that there are things that you're learning, and to check what your bearing is on your ultimate purpose and determine if you're still heading in the right direction. So when a team consistently identifies, tackles, and acknowledges their ability to problem solve over time, they begin to have a shift in their perspective. They begin to see, they begin to develop a self-efficacy. So there's a belief that they can do things. Hey, we just screwed up, but at least we learned. And that phrase gets sort of inverted and turned into, hey, we just learned something really critical to the product success, and it only took us a couple weeks to figure it out.
I'd love to hear about an example of how do you get in front of a customer when you're a big established brand.
You really don't have a risk in putting out a bad product if you're not putting it in front of thousands of customers. In fact, I think you're gonna have the opposite. You're gonna have customers who, if you reach out to them, like really appreciate being part of the process. There's actually a 7th lesson that I didn't include, which is around being a good storyteller. And I think it's a pretty important part, actually, of navigating uncertainty, which is to be able to talk effectively about what it is you're doing, about all these earlier steps. And so I think the answer there is to be able to try it, get some small wins, and then talk about it as an organization.
So please join me in thanking Keith.